Call of Duty is in the worst state that it's ever been in, and even if it gets better from here, it's never going to be great ever again. And if that sounds exaggerated, just take a look at the current state of COD. Black Ops 7 dropped with almost no hype, no noise. I had zero interest in playing that game, and for the foreseeable future, I don't plan on buying another game until something changes. I don't actually know a single friend of mine who plays the game either. This is not normal for such a popular franchise. Battlefield 6 outselling COD last year was another one of those indicators that something is going very wrong. And even IGN, who typically rates COD pretty generously, gave it a 6. You've got the community calling out Treyarch for using AI on calling cards and emblems, and these games are only getting more and more expensive. Why would anyone continue to spend hundreds of dollars year after year when the dev team resorts to AI for shortcuts on these games with a budget I'd assume is worth millions of dollars? And the craziest part is, none of this is really surprising anymore. I feel as if this franchise has had a decade to really lock in and figure it out, but it has only gotten worse. Up to BO2, I'd say it was all dandy. It wasn't a flawless journey the whole time, but generally the community was satisfied and the players were active. Ghost released and there was hate, which justifiably so, but I do think it wasn't as bad as people made it out to be. Then came Advanced Warfare, where we got an attempt at a more futuristic style COD, and ever since then, year by year, it kind of feels like they have never really been able to satisfy the majority of people. Which is crazy because even that 2013 to 2018, 2019 run isn't even that bad when you compare it to today. Because at that point, you could see that they were at least putting in some effort. And at a certain point, you have to ask why. Like, why does this keep happening every single year? For starters, these games simply don't have the time to be good anymore. Call of Duty has totally embraced this quantity over quality mindset, which, if the games were actually good, I wouldn't push back. But they're subpar, bad even. A game every year can work, but I do think in most cases it's not really ideal. It's only a matter of time before players experience serious burnout. The difference between then and now is we would see a Black Ops game one year and then a Modern Warfare game the next. We would actually get different CODs every year, which is a lot more refreshing. Whether you prefer Sledgehammer or Infinity War or Treyarch, they all kind of have different things to offer when making a game, whether it's the way they're played or designed. So when we get Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 in back-to-back years, I think it's understandable as to why no one wants to play MW3 since it was a total copy-paste of the game we had just gotten the year prior. We didn't get a Black Ops in between or anything. The worst part about that was MW2 was promised to be the only COD for the next 2 years, which was one of my main incentives for even buying the game. For the first time in a while, it felt like they could actually lock in and improve the game. It felt like I would be able to play the game a lot without it feeling totally useless. I trusted that I'd actually be able to invest time into it. But no, they lied and announced MW3 shortly after. The last 2 years repeated the same exact thing. BO6 and BO7 in back-to-back years. Like I said, it's one thing if the games are good. They're not. I'll be honest, even when we were getting slightly more refreshing experiences year by year, I'm personally not a fan of yearly releases, simply because it does feel redundant to grind a game out just for it to get replaced 12 months later. At first, it just feels repetitive, then it starts to feel pointless. Yeah, you could still continue to play it, but shortly after, the developers completely ditch it to focus on the next game they have to create. The overall system is simply unsustainable in the long run, and the burnout is almost inevitable here. Some people will continue to buy it regardless, but we'll talk more about that later. But even beyond that, and I'm sure majority of COD players who have played long enough can agree, the game itself just doesn't feel the same anymore. The identity of COD has completely shifted, and you can feel it immediately. Back in the day, it felt like the game really did cater to everyone. But as time went on, it was clear that they were really only focusing on the youth. Like, we could talk about numerous things here, but let's start with the core game itself. I've mentioned this in one of my previous videos, but they obviously focus way more on microtransactions than actual content. Why should I care about my skin in a first-person shooter? I'm paying money for my skin to display on other people's screens. The skins are also mainly stupid crossovers nowadays that do not fit the world and atmosphere of COD at all. Like, why is Nicki Minaj in this game? And make no mistake, I'm not saying you can't have goofy things in your game, but there is a very big difference between fun customization and breaking the game's identity. Camos are perhaps a little more understandable to me, but even then they have so much less flavor than what they used to have. While camos still costed money back in the day, look at BO2, really cool camos and they typically costed about $2. Now all the best camos are trapped behind bundles and battle passes where you're forced to overspend so much more than you actually want. And the reason as to why I'm harsher on criticizing skins than camos is camos just add personality without changing the tone of the world too much. But when half the lobby looks like they came from Fortnite, yeah, that's not Call of Duty anymore. COD has always had trash talk. It was part of the experience. And while I understand why voice moderation exists, especially when it comes to slurs or genuinely harmful behavior, it feels like the system has gone way too far in my opinion. In these newer games, you can be flagged for not just what you say, but how you say it. And that starts to blur the line between actual toxicity and normal competitive behavior. The thing is, we already have tools for this. You can mute players instantly, you can stay in party chat, you don't even have to engage with game chat at all. So instead of giving players control, the game steps in and moderates the interactions for you, and that just changes the feel of the entire lobby. It doesn't really feel organic anymore. It all makes me feel that they have absolutely started to cater way more to children who play COD, unlike back when COD felt cool to play. To me, it was a dead giveaway when Warzone came out and was free to play. COD wasn't totally one to just fully give into trends. Yeah, they would sometimes ride certain waves, but it would still be in COD fashion. This is when I realized they were kind of willing to do anything to stay on top, even if that meant stray away from what makes COD great in the first place. And the more you do actually play, the more obvious that becomes. You realize that this isn't by accident. There's a reason why Call of Duty is like this now. They simply don't have to do better. Even with COD getting gradually worse, people continue to buy the game, and unfortunately numbers don't lie. You can criticize this franchise every single year, but what does it matter if you keep giving them money? Yeah, you can complain, but as long as they continue to see huge returns and make billions of dollars every year, I don't even think they care. COD's appeal mainly works for kids and casual players. The people who play COD are the same people who play 2K, Fortnite, Roblox, Rocket League, all of the more casual and easy to pick up games. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it does explain a lot. And I think that the more casual gamers don't care enough or have not been invested in this franchise for as long as many others to really understand the greatness that we rather could be experiencing if Activision just locked in. They also typically play these same handful of games and haven't ever really branched out to realize how subpar COD really is, even if it is a popular top-selling game every year. Something I find super funny is the massive surge Elden Ring got when Kai Cenat played it, because yeah, it was always a massive game since launch, but not nearly as many people were talking about this game until after he had done that marathon. And that kind of proves my point. Stuff like that baffles me because some people are so out of the loop that they are actually missing out on quality because they're stuck replaying the same games over and over again. It's relieving that at the very least many people who have probably never imagined themselves playing a game like that got to experience something different for a change. If there ever was any indicator of the community being fed up though, Battlefield 6 outselling Black Ops 7 was kind of eye-opening. So let's just say fine, they start listening to the community and put genuine effort in again. Well, who do they listen to exactly? We have gotten so many different titles over the years that the community would no longer collectively agree on what they want. There are a lot of people who are done and fed up with boots on the ground and actually want to go back to the more futuristic interpretations. But then again, these were the same people complaining about it a few years ago. Some people want to keep COD in that more historic to modern lane. Some people love zombies, some people think it's been milked for way too long. At this point, there isn't one version of Call of Duty that satisfies everyone. We are so far in the loophole that I don't think any new game could possibly unite the majority of the community. The only thing that I could see them doing that could cause the most harmony are remasters. Even then, that's just nostalgia bait. That's relying on old art, and that just so happens to be their best work, unfortunately. This is the harsh truth. I don't think COD could ever actually be great again. Even remasters, with how good they could be, it's just recycling old stuff. And you have every right to call me ignorant, but I am truly under the impression that no matter what, even if they do fix a lot, COD can never truly reach the peak they had from the late 2000s to the 2010s. And don't get it twisted, I'm saying this because I care about Call of Duty. I grew up on these games. Up until 2023, I'm pretty sure I've owned every single game since COD 4. That's exactly why it's so frustrating to see now. So while it may not be something you want to hear, no, I don't think Call of Duty will ever be great again. Not because it can't be, but because I don't think the community could ever collectively decide what great even looks like anymore.